What's happening, everyone? Michael Olivas here. I asked my future scheduled guests to adapt their advice and responses to current times. This is a COVID-19 special edition where I will ask entrepreneurs how this current epidemic is affecting their business and life and what their advice is for you. I get it, Life Nation. I'm not just a podcast host. I'm an entrepreneur, just like you. My companies are having to pivot and innovate just to stay afloat, and I'm hearing it from guests and colleagues alike. Stay motivated, refocus, and trust me that those companies and individuals who truly strategize to get through this will flourish when it inevitably comes to an end.
You're listening to the Business and Life Podcast, where 7 days a week, proven entrepreneurs share their success stories, failures, and give you true value on how you can build a great business and an awesome life. With your host, Mike Olivas.
What's happening, guys? Today I'm chatting with Will Zhang. Will Zhang is the CEO and solutions architect of Bentelix. Bentelix is an advanced technology consulting and solutions development company. Will, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much. It's my honor and pleasure to be here, my friend.
Absolutely. Well, so tell our listeners something interesting about yourself, Will, but also tell us where you're calling in from today.
What am I calling in from, as in where I am?
Yeah, where? Yeah, where are you right now?
Yeah, I'm located in Toronto at the moment, in the midst of this COVID situation, fiasco. Yeah. So a little bit of background about myself. Went to engineering science at University of Toronto. It's one of the hardest engineering programs in Canada. And
nice.
I worked for IBM. It used to be my dream company because I really love software development. And IBM used to be my dream company because they came up with a lot of interesting concepts like IBM Watson. They came up with what's called the SQL, Structured Query Language. It's a common practice or convention for developing the database. And also just overall, a lot of famous technology came out of IBM. So after I went into the company, I realized the company is too big. And I want something that's more creating something out of nothing, right? So I started working at a startup as a CTO. But after I pushed the product to production, I felt like the development kind of stopped because we're now moved down from a product development to more of a maintenance and operations side of things. So that's when I decided to kind of start my own consultancy and solution company, which is Bentelix. And that kind of is where we are today. 2 years later, we're here, team of around 20 people, and we won several awards, made some significant accomplishments.
Tell us what Bentelix does.
So we're an emerging technology solution firm, and we work with emerging technology that encapsulates ABCDEF, which stands for AI, blockchain, cloud computing, data engineering, edge computing, and full stack omnichannel software.
And do you have your own developers? What kind of company would engage? I understand the technology world. I have a national group travel technology we're building out now. And so when you talk about maybe, for example, are you coming into the position for Will as maybe a part-time CTO for some companies? Are you taking over the entire development project from A to Z, prototype to development?
Correct. That both of them are the type of engagement that we engage. So usually we find there are two types of clients that would come to us usually. One of them is VC-backed startups, companies that are looking to build a proof of concept POCs. And usually it's something that is really advanced, that adopts some of the cutting edge technology. Like they rely on cloud computing heavily, and they want to develop some cloud native microservices. They come to us. Sometimes it's blockchain related product, or they want to develop a mobile app that leverage some of the advanced full stack development tech stack, for instance, like React and React Native, which in contrary to some of the more traditional framework, like for instance, developing apps on Swift or Android or PHP, they want something that's more sexy, that's a little bit more cutting edge. They come to us. So one of our biggest clientele is startup. The other one is the enterprise. So for enterprise, usually a lot of enterprise are going through digital transformation. They want to stay competitive when it comes down to technology. And in the case of enterprise, usually they ask for a dedicated consultant to be deployed on site as a consultant in a contract type of engagement. So those are kind of the two ends of the spectrum. Like one of them is someone that's very new and looking to disrupt the market, and the other one is someone that is already existed for a very, very long time, and they're looking to innovate and stay competitive with the technical aspect of things.
What kind of companies out there do you feel are a good fit for Fintelix? I mean, for example, who's actually searching for a company like yours?
A lot of Fortune 500 companies are, believe it or not, building a lot of POCs. Like for instance, Cirque du Soleil just published their AR VR solution. Like Disney had a lot of proof of concept. They work a lot with firms like us, and also companies that like a lot of finance related companies are pushing towards like initiative for blockchain. Like for instance, JP Morgan Chase released their own version of enterprise private Ethereum blockchain. So, like companies that are enterprise, Fortune 500 companies that are looking to, create something that is new, that is potentially disruptive, but also is able to create value for their own business model. And also, like I mentioned earlier, startups, VC-backed companies that just came out of an accelerator that successfully raised funds. They want to build their first gen product, right? They usually are in their angel round or seed round, and we've had success story where we built a proof of concept for a client, then they move on to a bigger engagement because now they receive more funding with their POC, and now we're kind of working in a partnership type of style engagement because after their POC, they received tremendous amount of traction from the VC world.
You kind of help them get to their MVP, their minimal viable product, to be able to get to where, hey, listen, this works, it makes money, or the POC, like you mentioned. Then the proof of concept happens, and they re-engage into a more further in-depth development project.
Precisely. Right. And all the people that we employ are top notch, and they like something I find they have something that I find pretty rare in the tech industry, which is the ability to think critically. We're very obsessed about creating the best practice and developing an internal best practice when it comes down to solutioning, product development, and also overall the DevOps culture from the development to actually deploy and maintain the product from the operations side. When we say like an MVP, minimum viable product, we don't just say it as a prototype. It's a production grade solution that you're ready to launch to the market and generate traction. So that's kind of the business model and the type of things that we do.
What's happening, Life Nation? Michael Levis here. This is a time to do the right thing, not the profitable thing. I'm giving away COVID-19 business strategy sessions for free. I promise to give you my honest advice and coach you on a strategy that I feel would be best for the longevity of your business. I'm not asking you for your money, but in the interest of being able to help as many people as I can, I am asking you to be ready with your 1 to 2 specific questions so we can jump right into it. Go to michaellevis.com/coaching and simply schedule a call on my calendar. That's MIKEOLIVAS.com/coaching. Given our current situation right now, Will, with the COVID-19 outbreak and its effect on entrepreneurs, of course, thousands of entrepreneurs listening are always looking for advice and help. And has something like this, by the way, affected your type of company, the company that you're in now within your business? Is there anything that's been kind of detrimental of an issue that has happened because of the COVID-19 outbreak?
Well, there's definitely impact, but I think in terms of how severe it impacts us, it's definitely on the relatively lower end of the spectrum. Like, companies may cut funding on their research and development sector, right? So they think, oh, we need to be more risk averse when it comes down to when we're going through a situation or a phase of our company that has a lot of uncertainties. But there are also cases where companies that think that right now is the perfect time to do some development work. Now, obviously, it's less occasional because some companies think, oh, the market is going down. But if we develop something that is ready to be advertised massively once the market becomes much more bullish, and that's when they capture the most amount of value.
Yeah, I think this is the best time. If you're listening out there and obviously you think that a company like Wolves can help yours, my thought process here, knowing that going through different projects and development processes, and we're on our phase 4 right now of my company's technology, is that, you got to start baby stepping sometime, right? If you're at the level of realizing that now is time to be creative. Right now is a time where a company like Will's could actually assist with creating those specs if necessary, and or starting out those build outs, right? Taking your SOPs and workflows and finding out what can truly be automated on the back end and what systems are necessary to put in place. Because a lot of times as owners and CEOs that are listening to this podcast right now, they forget that the day-to-day and their systems and processes can be cut sometimes in half. Right? When they use and they just inject it with technology. So right now, injection of cash we know is hard, right? We know a lot of people are hurting. So injecting cash into something could be tough, but realize that you're not paying for a development project like, hey, here's 10, 20, 30, $300,000. Like, that's not the way projects work. It's a milestone based, right? And I just want to make sure that people understand that for you, Will, and for those that understand from my experience, is that we don't got to look at it as a X amount of dollars that I have to spend now. It's like, let's start the process of the creativity to be in a great position when let's say the markets in general, in terms of just the economy, I'm sorry, not the markets, but the economy opens back up. They can be in a really good position when that happens if they start now versus starting later and just waiting. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I think what you mentioned there actually is the right mindset you should, as CEO or CTO should have, is that when you are spending money for research and development, you're not really exactly, it's not like a cost of goods sold where you just spend the money and that's it.
Right.
The investment, you're investing that money to generate intellectual property, and that intellectual property is an intangible asset that can serve your company for the years to come. Right, so you have to think of it from a finance perspective. How do I generate the ROI from this type of investment? Is what I'm developing aligned with my business objective? And how do we extract value from this IP that we're creating? As long as you are in that, like in the right direction with that regards, doesn't matter how much you spend. I think you will always come out positive.
Absolutely.
And that's why. That's the kind of intuition that we want to adopt. Hence the name Fintellix, like finance, technology, and intellects. That's what Fintellix really means. I like that. So we want to sort of help educate our clients. We don't just do fintech, but we also try to develop a financial intuition when it comes down to developing technology. So what kind of technology would be beneficial for your business, and what's the ROI look like, and how does this really make sense from a business perspective? So that's the kind of thinking approach that I find very similar to what you just described.
How many, there's a lot. Well, let's just backtrack on some of the advice of COVID-19. I wanted to kind of get from you on your just professional opinion or advice maybe that you would give to those that are having to close their doors, or, those are just that are barely getting by as a business perspective. What kind of tips or advice would you give those entrepreneurs out there trying to go through this struggle? So
I think definitely leverage, internet technology in general. Like, a lot of companies are saying that they're going through digital transformation. They're leveraging a lot of emerging technology, but very few of them are actually thinking from their business operation to how do they move their business operations to adopt some of the cutting edge technology. And this COVID-19, believe it or not, actually forced a lot of companies or stimulated a lot of companies to actually be able to achieve that. Like for instance, if you are, say, a restaurant, and previously 90% of your revenue come from serving a customer in-house, right? Now you have to really think about how do I leverage something like Uber Eats to drive revenue through delivery, right? How do I get more exposure from like maybe we offer delivery on home? I can maybe switch to a subscription model, like your beer shop. I've seen beer shop do that. Like, I will deliver beer to local households on a subscription base. Subscription basis, right? Like, you're going through such a hard time. Everyone's miserable, and like, beer just makes sense every day, right? So, you know what I'm saying? So, so I mean, like, and companies that are able to pivot in that regards, is actually able to survive, and sometimes much more profitable because of the demand for certain products.
I think you're absolutely right. You hit it on the nail, man. It's like bottom line is, guys that are out, the people that are listening that are CEOs or just current, or just business owners in general, entrepreneurs. This is the time to be creative. This is the time to pivot, and you're starting and yes, your back's against the wall, but some of the best things happen when you're just don't make decisions out of fear, of course, or being afraid of something, or just kind of scarcity because we don't know when it's going to end, but make logical ones. But still, this is the time where I think people get creative. Like you mentioned, subscription model turns into cash flow. Now you can create more and more cash flow, or, cutting things that are not necessary. What's necessary in the business, what's not. I think there's a lot of different ideas that people are having out there to try to make this thing happen and get through it. And those that do are going to definitely flourish when the time comes.
Exactly. And who knows, like, there's a saying in there that like people develop habits, right? So after the COVID-19, maybe people will enjoy staying at home much more. So maybe this can turn into a sustainable business model for like a subscription-based, like beer delivery or whatever, right?
Yeah, you're right. People probably start realizing like, wow, I can be productive at home. Yeah, you can be. If you just, turn off Netflix, you can definitely be productive at home. Hopefully people are, but just realizing that a lot of times it still comes down to a choice. You don't have a big screen TV in your office. There shouldn't be one on while this is happening right now while you're getting things done. Right. And so focus, realize what the end game is, the goal, and start getting to work. Hey, for our listeners that are interested in learning more about you and your company, where can they find you?
They can go on Fantalix.com, or they can send an email to info@fantalix.com.
Awesome. Well, hey, Will, thank you so much for dropping some of your success and your knowledge on us today. In the interest of time, what we're going to be doing is dropping out all of your website and all that jazz in the show notes. So if you're more interested about Will, we'll make sure you can just type in Will Zhang in there and Fantalix, and we'll get all the information out there to the people that are interested.
Sure. Sounds great.
Life Nation, you got to remember that in order for things to change, you must change. And in order for things to get better, you must get better. You just got better by hanging out with me, Michael Leibus, and the Business and Life Nation. So come back tomorrow because I'm here dropping sound bombs 7 days a week, baby. If you'd like to subscribe, please do, so you can take action and execute. See you tomorrow.